Hi, everyone. Harry here to tell you about a case and an opinion that issued at the end of last week when so much was going on with the alien enemies case that we and others kind of jumped over it. But it's pretty important. So this is a case pending in the federal district court, the trial level court before Judge Hollander, about the alleged illegality, and sure seems illegal to me, of DOGE having access to all the personal information that the Social Security Administration collects in order to administer the Social Security program and certain tax things. Now, I was in the government for many years. I was a prosecutor, and there were times when this information was critical to have. And let me just tell you, it was pulling teeth, very difficult. The people at the SSA didn't want to give it. It's just we could get it if there was a extreme need in the criminal law, but it's just to show you that the culture of the Social Security Administration is very against, and we have anecdotal reports that DOGE kiddies basically showed up and said, where do I plug in my little gizmo so I can take all your data away? And people from the SSA said, you don't. And those people were fired. And since then, it's been given over to them. And that's a really, a whole class of people have come in to the District of Maryland, Judge Hollander, and said, it's a violation of the Privacy Act. You can't do it. And of course, this is one of the instances, maybe the paradigmatic one, in which, once the damage is done, what are you going to do? Pay, different members of the class, what, $25? What would you pay not to have your information, private information revealed? Be total, easy pickings for identity theft and the like. It's the kind of thing that once it's done, it's done. Then other remedies don't really do a lot. So that Judge Hollander issued a very long, very methodical, something like 135 pages, maybe a little more, going through everything. She had previously granted a temporary injunction. We've seen this stance occur again and again. The administration went right up to the Fourth Circuit, and the Fourth Circuit said, no, that's not how TROs work. The district court gets to basically, unless there's some unbelievable emergency, gets to have it for a couple weeks and figure things out. Now that principle has been tested and honored really in the breach in ways we don't have to go into here, but TRO, you're not supposed to be able to appeal, but sometimes higher courts will construe it as a preliminary injunction, et cetera, et cetera. Don't worry about that for now, because the Fourth Circuit here said we don't have jurisdiction, it being a TRO. They sent it back to Judge Hollander, and the opinion here is the entry precisely of the preliminary injunction, which is, although it says preliminary, that's a big deal. The district court judges said, stop, we're not going forward. You would then maybe proceed to a trial on damages or to enter a permanent injunction, but the entry of this temporary injunction, that's the big ticket item that the plaintiffs were looking to do. That's now appealable. Although this opinion issued last Thursday, the administration hasn't yet appealed it, but you have to expect that it will. It's got a lot of things on its hands right now, especially in the Alien Enemy Act case. But basically, this very long, thorough, I would say meticulous opinion. It's not super scholarly as much as it's really stitched up in real detail about the potential for irreparable harm. That's, when this information is revealed, the balance of equities, the things you do before granting a preliminary injunction. So she has done. And, so there's an analysis of standing, and there's an analysis of each of the factors that go to preliminary injunction. It's 146 pages. I won't try to summarize it, but, I think you can imagine what's going on. She's basically saying, you can't have all this private information. That's a violation of the Privacy Act. It's a violation of other things, and I'm enjoining that. And at that point, the administration can, and you have to think it will, go to the Fourth Circuit to challenge that very order. And so the judge has really tried to, stitch it up as best she could and use Fourth Circuit precedent, and the like, because it's going to be this very opinion that is now going to be overseen in the Fourth Circuit, and potentially the Supreme Court. This is a whole separate issue that's not. It's the discharge of private information, so it's not the way that others have been harmed economically. It's not the way that others have been harmed constitutionally, although there is a constitutional claim here. But it's really like, you can't do that. And this is going to be the main vehicle for testing. Can they do that, or can they not do that? Can DOGE the argument that the administration will try to make is there are some cases that say, you don't really have a violation of the Privacy Act unless and until info is disseminated outside the government. That'd be pretty cold comfort in a case like this, where the government has been ransacking data and trying to use it in particular for this, kind of indefatigable, over-the-top anti-immigrant policy or series of policies. So, that would be the worry. Fourth Circuit, fairly conservative circuit, although that's the circuit that held for Abrego Garcia with a very conservative judge, J. Harvey Wilkinson, coming out strongly. It feels like with the pushback from that very opinion, I've written about it a little bit more in my Substack today, and a few other developments, that maybe we're at a moment of overall pushback in the courts. And that'll be the question, does the Fourth Circuit, uphold this? In which case, probably it goes on to the Supreme Court. So just a big old important opinion. I don't think it's necessary to go back and retread her 146-page analysis, as I say, but know the story and keep our eyes open for what surely ought to be in the next couple of days, and unless they try to go to the en banc court, the full court, to get rid of this opinion for now. That, or the next move, the logical move, would be to go to the Supreme Court, and now it is set up after going to the Fourth Circuit. So in other words, the district court judge is basically done her best and is stitched it up as well as she can. So now we're in the Fourth Circuit, potentially the Fourth Circuit en banc, potentially the Supreme Court, to see if this opinion, which is the leading one now in the whole area of revelation of private information, is going to hold. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.